Wildlife Act has opened a case after the discovery of mass vulture poisoning in KwaZulu-Natal. 47 white-backed vultures have been found dead in Zululand. Of these, 35 had their heads removed. 5 vultures were found alive and received treatment before being taken to a rehabilitation facility. Anal Olivier from Wildlife Act vulture program she joins us now for more. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. A very concerning state of affairs that we are seeing in this regard. And maybe just give us a sense as to why we have mass vulture poisonings in parts of KZN and other parts of South Africa.
Yeah, it's actually a much bigger problem than just a KwaZulu-Natal or South African problem. It's across the entire continent. But specifically, the vultures are harvested for their body parts, for the traditional markets, or as we call the belief-based use. It's a very efficient way. The poison is incredibly toxic, and it can kill multiple vultures in one go. And that is just a very, very quick way for them to then gather a lot of body parts for this trade. However, it is illegal, and just causing devastation all over.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite devastating, as is the latest incident that I've just mentioned in my intro. Is there a problem of a lack of police oversight in protecting the species in our wildlife, or are there any other issues where it is easy for these syndicates to go through and conduct these mass killings?
A big problem is actually just awareness of the issue. We work very closely with local SAPS, especially a specific stock theft unit. We've built quite a strong relationship with them and helped them understand the ecological situation within the local context and the communities that we deal with here. We do a lot of work with the communities and the wildlife in the area, so we are well placed to provide them with some additional insight. Our biggest issue is just the understanding of how we can contribute to the entire judicial system, and then follow through to prosecution. But there definitely is a growing interest and understanding in this space.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the current criminal case that has been instituted over the 47 white-backed vulture carcasses that were found. What are you hoping? What are the charges that have been put forward here, and have there been any arrests, and what are we hoping will come out of this?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a very difficult one. Obviously, it's still an ongoing investigation, so I cannot really disclose too much information. And obviously, we're not fully informed of everything the police is currently doing, but there are some informants that they're relying on, and there are some suspects, but unfortunately, it's very hard to track down the actual culprits. We do spend quite a bit of time in assisting the police in gathering evidence, as well as testing these samples for which poisons are being used and stuff like that. But unfortunately, this scene, for instance, it rained the night before. By the time we arrived, there was very little evidence that we could actually gather that can link us to a specific person.
And now, are there any conversations between conservationists like yourselves and traditional healer groupings to make them understand the dangers this costs to the ecosystem at large, or do those not happen as much as you would like them to?
Yeah, it's definitely happening, especially on a national level. So there is a national vulture task force that are working with traditional healers associations to help them understand that though we respect the culture and the traditional aspect to it, this mass killing is just not sustainable. They have to play a role in protecting their own culture and heritage as well. So yes, those conversations are happening, but we can definitely build and continue to grow that.
And then just for viewers watching this afternoon and not understanding the role that a vulture would play in an ecosystem or in wildlife, perhaps just give us a sense of why we have to fight for the vultures, just as we would rhino and elephants and other animals that are targeted across the continent and across the world, really.
It's good that you mentioned other species like rhino. We often forget vultures. They're not always the most charismatic species, or they don't always have the R factor. But in actual fact, they play an incredibly important role in our ecosystems, especially with regards to human health as well as our economy. They're incredibly efficient. We call them the nature's cleanup crew. So they're incredibly efficient at getting rid of organic matter and decomposing waste like carcasses in the environment. And their stomachs are quite acidic, so they have a way of dealing very well with all these harmful pathogens. The sad thing about it is that we have 7 resident vulture species in South Africa, but 5 of them are endangered or critically endangered. And we have seen incredible population crashes, especially in KZN. We know that we have about an 8% mortality rate per year due to poisoning alone, and that we're aware of. Obviously, there could be many more incidents that we're not even aware of. So it is starting to look really, really scary, and not just for the species, but also for our communities and people living or benefiting from the service that vultures provide.
And that's why now